as of now, keynote address, we have an interesting topic and talk about data privacy and security. I shall call upon Khushbu Jain, cyber law expert on stage. Can we have Khushbu Jain, cyber law expert on stage? And can we have a huge round of applause, everybody?
Hi, everyone. I can see everybody's faces already tired and done with Friday evening and a lot to talk on. I'll not take much time. I think I'm being given 20 minutes in total to talk on. So, all right. So the entire audience comes from the banking, so I should not talk about more of the banking laws, but take you a little back. Um, how many of you have heard about something called as, data privacy or right to privacy 15 years back? None of us, right? 10 years back, a little maybe here and there we were reading in the newspapers or things around. It's very recently that we realized that, oh, data privacy or right to privacy is something, very crucial. And it's not just you and me, but the courts or the Indian Constitution also realized in 2017 via K. Puttaswamy judgment that right to privacy is one of your fundamental right. Why so? Because without data privacy, you cannot have a dignified life. And without dignified life, there cannot be a right to life. Hence, Article 21 was amended with incorporating right to privacy as one of your fundamental right. Now why are we talking about fundamental right? When it came to right to privacy, we realized that, okay, I do have a right to privacy, you have a right to privacy, but how do we enforce this? Do we go filing writ petition every time? You as company, you as BFSI sitting here, what are the norms, rules, regulations, framework you have to abide with? Me as a user, you as a user, what are the ways and what are the things? Because just somebody collecting your data is not something called as privacy, but ownership of your data, control of your data in your hands if you're a user is something called as right to privacy. So we realized that none of the businesses can work, none of the corporates can work, institutions cannot work, even government cannot work without having data. So there has to be a framework. So with that 2017 judgment came the aspect that, okay, let there be a framework. So Justice Puttaswamy committee was formulated, which gave a framework in and around data protection. 2019 is when we heard about something called as Personal Data Protection Bill, which was introduced. Now that 2019 bill went into 100 plus amendments. With that 100 plus amendments, suggestions from stakeholders like all of you and others, comments from members of the parliament, it went to an extent that it became very bulky with the amendments. So as recent as 2022, the same bill was recalled in the parliament. A new bill was introduced called as Digital Data Protection Bill. Now that Digital Data Protection Bill is yet to see the light and we should see that as soon as possible. This is the entire framework whereas your bill is talking about. Now when all of us talk about privacy, why it is important, I think something which you have to understand. If I have to probably talk about security and privacy or have a connection between the two. So let's talk about the industry that we are here today. Privacy, see every cyber fraud, digital fraud that we talk about, especially financial sector, is having an element of something called as information. More the information, easier for the cyber criminal to commit a crime. If I'll give you 4 or 5 examples, might make it a little more clarity over it. So let's start with, you get a call, I'm calling from so-and-so bank, ma'am. There is an upgradation to your credit card. Bank is providing you ABC, new thing, and your credit limit is increased. So the first thing I'll do is, how do I know you're from the bank? So I said, how do I know you're from the bank? So the person says, ki, ma'am, your last credit card bill was 9,520 rupees. And the bill earlier that was this much. Because of that purchase limit, which, consistency, high purchase, is where we are giving up you a increased credit limit. Then I say, and then I'm calling from the bank, ma'am, your birth date is this. So is there any possibility you would not believe this is bank? All the 3 things is something which is the bank. So I will not have a second doubt that the person who's calling me is not from the bank. Then comes maybe different ways. They'll send you a link. They'll ask you to send something. They'll ask you to share OTP. If not OTP, because we have heard OTP a lot everywhere, and don't share OTP, don't share OTP. So comes the aspect that they'll ask you that, okay, these are the ways to do it. They'll ask you to go to specific websites. to do that, when they send you the link for the website, this is the second type I'm telling you, which can be independent of it. See, number of banks, number of fintechs are very few. Lending apps are very few. So it's very easy for people to imitate. So there can be an impersonation of your entire website and which looks identical to whatever ABC bank you are. And probably you will not think twice before thinking that, okay, this is not, or cross-checking it. And you start doing things which are being asked to you do so on the phone. When you do that, practically you're writing all your credentials, you're providing all your credentials to a website which is not you, which is not the original bank, but a impersonator. Second, the third comes is, okay, when I go on Google or any of the search engine, the popular search engine, I say that, okay, I want a XYZ bank, I want to, do some transactions. In the top three, the one which comes, again, identical looking website, identical looking logo, I'll click on it, I'll start doing the transactions, they get my details. The fourth one is you get messages on your phone call, on your phone number, this much amount has been credited from your account, debited from your account. You'll be like, I did not. There's no withdrawal from my side. What happened? Then there's a small bit.ly link over there. Immediate thing you'll do is you'll click on it, how the money has gone. And with the cyber awareness, people have realized that SMS has to come. But now the cyber criminals became more smart. They know that when they'll send you lucrative offers, there's a chance that people will not click on it. But the fear and the offer, these two are the elements when it comes to cybercrime. So all they're going to do is they're going to send you something which makes you fear. And when you are in that fear, you don't take time to think. The immediate thing you'll do is one, either click over there. Second, if you're smart, you'll again go and search Google App Stores. You'll search the the phone number of the bank, and you want to call over there, or you'll search on the link. The cyber criminals are so smart that the top 2 or 3 that will come is also redirected to them. I'll tell you another crime that happens, the modus operandi which is happening. All of you must have heard about SIM cloning. So SIM cloning is another beautiful way to commit crime, where they practically clone the SIM. And despite people being aware, despite people knowing, so I'll give you some example which already happened during the pandemic first phase. Pandemic first phase, almost everybody got a call that, sir, we're calling from XYZ cellular company, and company is offering you high rate of increasing your internet speed and providing you these offers because internet usage has gone high due to lockdown. All things are happening. And I think all of us suffered that in the house because your education, to your browsing, to your watching movie, to shopping, everything became on internet with that data which we had on the phone. So we were all in the need of better data, better speed, better offer when it comes to how many GB you're getting per day. So there were some people who agreed. There were some that, how will you do it? He's like, no, sir, we don't have to come. Because the company realized that you can't come because of the lockdown. With the same SIM, you have to send this digit to the customer care number of the specific cellular company. And doing so, within few hours, 2 or 3 hours, there will be an upgradation. Some people believed and agreed and did that. There were few who did not, again went on internet, called up over there. The people sitting there also are for the same call center. They said, yes, this is the offer and this is how you have to do. Now when that process happened, they genuinely did what they had to do. When you buy a SIM, that SIM, whatever the 18-digit or 12-digit number has to be sent to those 6 or 8-digit number, toll-free number of the cellular company. They did that, but that SIM where the transfer happened was with the criminal sitting there. Now, when that got cloned is where they changed the banking passwords, they entered a lot of websites. They could enter by sharing OTP or changing the passwords. They could ask OTP to enter one time and some transactions happened. So much so that people literally lost. I personally had, during the first phase plus 200 cases where people lost money, right from 3,000 to 30 lakhs. People lost money just because of that thing that happened within 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, to 48 hours where people could not go, they didn't realize what's happening, is where that entire things happen. So this is what happened. So we realized, and I think even RBI realized, that data plays a very important role. So with digital banking and the way you want to do ease of, banking and how banking should reach every nook and corner of our country, and so much so it's a very good vision to have, because the kind of jurisdiction the kind of geography India has, it made it more easy for people when you talk about digital banking. But with digital banking, if somebody is losing little money, it's not bank who's gaining, it's not bank who's losing, it's the transaction is between the two, but there is no beneficiary. Bank is at the loss, the person whose money is lost, the user is at a loss. And if I put whole number, it's country who is at the loss. Hence, RBI realized that there has to be a framework. That's why the cybersecurity framework was been there. And kudos to the RBI. This is one of the sector which has one of the best cybersecurity measures in place. If you compare it with any industry specific, we don't have any industry specific measures in place. Insurance does have it. SEBI has come up with some regulations, but RBI has come up with a strict regulation when it comes to cybersecurity. Now with that cybersecurity and tight implementations of penalties and what things can happen. With that came the other new aspect, which I think all of you must have read about, localization, the localization circular which RBI got. That was also on the part of these transactions usually happens, and these are very sensitive information which are there. So there are places where the data is not residing in India, and became very important that the data should be in India. Hence the data localization norm from the RBI was introduced. But all of you, I think, have to now look into the aspect that with the new bill, the data localization norm has gone away with. So there are a lot of contradictions with the new data protection bill, and the RBI circular is where I think all of you have to look into. So that's the journey, coming back to the aspect that data privacy was important because of this aspect, that 99% of the crimes becomes easy to commit if somebody has data. More the data, easier the commission of the crime. I can name 1,000 more crimes that can happen having more data. It's easy to impersonate. So the key takeaways, maybe for all of you as users and also for as representative of the banks, would be please serve yourself, keep surfing yourself, your bank, your colleagues on internet, on LinkedIn, on search engines, on different platforms, that is there anything coming up? Keep searching different keywords in and around related to you. If you're coming up with new schemes, any new scheme which is launched by Government of India, launched by bank, the criminals are very smart. They know that, okay, the best of the scheme launched by new home loan scheme with this much percentage age, yay for the cyber criminals. They'll come up with a nice message, more lucrative than you are. And for you to cross-check, you've already done the advertisements on the first page of the newspaper. So the belief part is done. Now all they have to do is impersonate and imitate. So the best for you is to keep searching yourself about yourself on internet, and then immediate action can be taken. You can go to certain, you can go to MeetY, you can go to local police station for the complaint, or you can go to cybercrime.gov.in for the complaint and immediately get actions done. There's another way to do it. If there is a website which is identical to yours, if there is an app which is identical to yours, or if there are messages coming, there are different places where you can immediately go apart from these places. That is the platform where, like the HostGator or whatever the domain registrar, you can write it to them, provided you follow the entire norms. So that's one. Second, if it's App Store, you can write to the specific App Store, either it's a Google Play Store or whatever the Play Store it is. You can write it to them that, boss, this is not me. These are my ABC documents. Please, I want you to take an immediate action. Second, you can do is literally go to the nearest police station and ask them to issue that to those specific places, so that there it becomes more easier, because they listen to law enforcement more fast as compared to you. But then domain registrars across globe are very vigilant when it comes to copyright, when it comes to trademark. So these are the few things which you can keep in mind. How much time I have? Done? Can I have one more? Okay. So I want one or two questions so that I understand which way I have to go and I can navigate from there. I was hearing a lot about, in a previous panel where people were talking about data and sharing of data within the industry and things around that. So, I mean, which made me at least apprise everybody else with the new data protection bill, and even with the SDPI rules which are in existence, though it says profit and loss, but there are existence of SDPI rules. And with the new data protection bill, the entire liability comes literally on the data fiduciary. Data fiduciary is you. Let's say I am the one who has opened an account with you or my data is with you. It's duty of you to have security in place. In case there is any kind of security incident or my data has been breached or gone to a place where it should have not gone or it created disturbance when it comes to the entire flow of things, the liability will be you. Now, when you share data across other places, it's you who has to make sure that the same security standards which you are keeping in place is also kept with the third parties you're sharing the data. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when it comes to growing of business and the industry of sharing the data with each other, but you have to understand the liabilities that entails along with it and what all things you have to keep in place when you talk about a contract between the third party. Because whatever said, done, a lot of breaches happen when it comes to sharing of data and especially at the third party sharing of the data. So that you have to keep in place because the burden of proof lies on you because you are the data fiduciary for the data principal and you are the one who is entirely liable. And if the bill in the same standard, in the same form comes, you are entailing penalties up to 250 crores to 500 crores. And if it goes to what was there in 2019 bill and what is there in GDPR, you are attracting 2 to 4% penalty per breach of your global turnover. 2 to 4% penalty of your global turnover per breach. 2 breach, 3 breach, 4 breach. The other incident that has also come up with is, we never had something called as class action suit or people who can file against you. Here it's been introduced, and even in 2019 bill it was introduced, that this, apart from the regulator, the Data Protection Board, apart from the RBI giving you penalties, I can seek compensation from you. With me, a lakh of users whose data has been stolen together can seek compensation from you. So imagine the kind of penalties that you are entailing. You practically can go out of business just on one breach. And cybersecurity attacks are here to stay. It's not going away. So the best is to keep, whatever said, done, they are not going away. So the best is 3 things. 1, be vigilant. 2nd, keep security measures in place. 3rd, you have to be aware about new social engineering, new type of crimes that are coming in place. You can't be reading one time, let's do one course, lifetime, cybersecurity, and we are done. No, that's not how it works. It's a continuous process and it has to evolve. Criminals are evolving. They see new things, they come up with that new thing, and they rotate around that. 4th, apart from security, the security and technology security which you keep in place, you also have to be aware about that right from the person who is at the front end to your top has to be aware about these things and how business email compromises are happening, how other things are happening, so that they are also vigilant. You have to tell the first person who collects the data that how data is important because he's the one who is having the raw data. He should be more aware about rather than just your manager, key management personnel. No, you have to have a different layer of understanding with each level, but the person who collects your data at the front end is the one who should be more taught about how data would be. I'll give you one small example and I'll end it to that with one question. Okay, so Heathrow Airport, security is uptight, right? Everybody has to keep in place and it comes under the ICO and also comes under GDPR. But apart from GDPR, every country has their own norms. There was a pen drive which was found in the Heathrow Airport. When that pen drive was picked up by one of the passenger, they submitted it to the authority. Now that pen drive contained the whereabouts of 15 or 20 days of Queen. So Queen is traveling where, which, who will be the 2 personnel who will be there with her at the airport, you know, the entire management which has to be there. That's what that pen drive was having it. Now when ICO came in place, the authority, they saw that basic security of password was also not there in the pen drive. Forget about encryption and other things. Basic level of security which is expected from anybody is to have a pen drive password protected. That was also not there. Then more investigation was done. In the investigation, it was found that if you have 100%, it's 2% people who are aware about basic standard of security who are dealing with the entire thing. That's where the penalty was imposed on Heathrow Airport. You can have a look into it. That's one of the good example to give. Apart from that, we have many. We have MasterCard, we have American Bank, and it can go on and on. I don't want to name anybody here. One question, and I think I'll close. Ma'am is looking at me.
Wonderful. This needs to be heard by everyone, not just this audience, but all the audiences out there. My question is, are there certain industries where they have to report breaches or report any kind of cyber incidences within a particular time frame, right? Or can they just sit on it for months and months and months until the news media picks it up?
Okay, very valid question. I think 90% of the people might have answers to your question. Yeah, absolutely. So the certain guidelines make it mandatory now that it's the moment you are aware about any incident, security incident that has taken place in your institute or in your organization, the time period for you to report is 6 hours. Failing to do so, you might attract penalty. Now, whether that breach or security incident has happened because of your fault, no fault, would not make any difference. Reporting it, failure to reporting itself will attract penalty to you. So another part that why have security in place, apart from reputational laws where customers will not feel comfortable, is the aspect, and the RBI is the other aspect of certain which says that you have to have proper reporting mechanism in place, which makes it more important for you to have incident breach drill at your place, incident breach response drill at your place continuously, so that you can mitigate the risk that comes. Because 6 hours, I think nobody would agree with me, everybody would agree with me that 6 hours is not enough. Patch, understand where it is happening, secure the systems, understand where it has come, collect the evidences, keep everything in place. After that is where you know what has to be done. 6 hours is not enough if an incident comes in place. So why not have a prior drill continuously happening that in an incident, team A will do this, team B will do this. These are the security, these are the templates that you keep in place in case incident happened. What kind of information has to go out? Who will be the one who will taking care of the information sharing with what regulators? Which jurisdictions are you part of? You're not restricted to one. You might have presence in different jurisdictions. Every country or jurisdiction has a different reporting mechanism, different hours, and different ways of doing things. GDPR asks you to practically, there is a mandate that you have to inform customers too. So what kind of information should go to the customer? What press releases you have to issue? You have to understand, because one wrong information or one wrong way of giving information from your organization will have a reputation loss which will be unimaginable. So what format and who is asked, who is the one who is authorized to do that, in what format, all of those things have to be kept in place. Once that is done, the next layer of problem comes is whether, as I said, breaches are here to stay. But if you have best of the best reasonable security standards in place, or you have followed those procedures, you might not attract the penalties. Now, to prove that best of the security standards were in place is where your auditing and your entire flow and evidences will come in place. So how do you safeguard that? Do you have another external team within that 6 hours to also keep that? Apprise your entire team that if some fault has happened, don't delete. Just don't wipe out the data, because you might need that data for your protection. So that's about it.